welcome to the ProNexis Business Builder Series. I'm here with Brandon Wallengren from 5-Star, and a quick introduction for myself. Scott Abbott, one of the founders of 5-Star Painting and CEO of ProNexis. And Brandon, we've been working together for a few years.
That's right.
Let's talk about what you've been up to at 5-Star.
Yeah, so started in 2013. We started working together originally with 5-Star Painting, and then eventually, as we pivoted from 5-Star Painting into 5-Star BaaS Solutions, and most recently now even with Joe Homebuyer. So with you and with 5-Star, been involved with now 3 home service franchise concepts, but always my focus in marketing and franchise development.
Awesome. Let's talk about some of the things that have been working for us and for you at in all these different brands. I think a lot of people, they ask themselves a question as to when they should start doing social media advertising, especially with what's happened in the last 5 or 6 years, the transition from a lot of pay-per-click advertising to now, Facebook or LinkedIn. What's been your experience around that? When would you tell someone they should start looking at using Facebook as a means of marketing their business?
It's a great question. In today's environment, my recommendation would be immediately. We went through a transition as a business, always having been, super focused on online marketing, but a lot of our resources were really dedicated towards, Google type marketing, organic results and local business listings and AdWords, which is still a huge part of what we do. But with coronavirus and the change and everyone at home and things like that, it really opened, our eyes to the opportunity to social media. And so as a company, we got really serious about social media, about 1.5 years ago, or just over a year ago, where we decided, hey, this is the moment in time, when we need to make sure that we're opening that marketing channel and getting into social media. So, many companies, of course, already are spending money on social media. They already have a company that they're working with, and that's fantastic, but there's a lot that aren't. And we're really fortunate in our situation because we have a marketing agency that we work with that was well prepared for us to, finally jump in to do Facebook advertising. And as a channel, it really supported what we were doing and supports what we're doing with, everything with Google. I mean, we're, again, very heavy on Google marketing, but when we saw, the various locations that we have across the country open that social media channel, not only did we see leads and appointments and revenue come through, social media, but we also saw an increase in our Google volume, an increase in our Google performance. So there was kind of this hidden benefit with social media, which for us, maybe posed a little bit of a challenge because, we want to attribute all the leads perfectly to the channel that it came through. But as we were watching our data and we could see, when the social media, when the Facebook advertising went live, we could see it translate in Google. So, super important channel. We wouldn't do without it at this point. And my recommendation again is, if you're not, running social media, if you're not running paid Facebook campaigns, really the time is now. Jump on board.
So let's just talk about kind of the impact that social media had on your marketing mix. As you mentioned earlier, that a big focus was on Google advertising, pay-per-click, local business listings, and that kind of thing. When you added social media to that mix, what percentage of lead flow started coming from social?
An enormous impact. It's changed. Added a new marketing channel, has really enhanced, our Google marketing programs for many of our locations in terms of lead volume. 10, 15, 20% of the lead volume is now coming through social media and is really bolstering, the Google marketing. Obviously the customer's mentality when they hit social media is a lot different than when they're doing a Google search.
Right. Yeah.
They're on social media to, post their family pictures or talk about their vacation or, do whatever they do. And so it's a little bit different mentality. And so it's really important that as someone launches their business into social media, that they keep in mind that the conversion ratios are not going to be as high as they are with Google. And that's okay. That, as long as you have that expectation, you won't be surprised by it. You may only convert, 25, 30% of your social media or Facebook leads into an actual appointment.
Right. Okay.
Which for us, that's low compared to other channels. quite a bit lower. But
Well, how does that compare to Google, for example?
so we convert a Google lead in various ways, but a Google lead for us will convert it, 60, 70%.
Okay.
At that range, depending on the way that we're converting the lead.
Now, you mentioned just when we were talking off camera that a lot of your leads are coming in from just people scheduling online without even calling in or texting or anything like that. And then that obviously is a 100% conversion rate because they're booking right on your calendar. Yeah. Do you have an idea of kind of how many people are booking online as a percentage of your lead flow versus people calling in?
I mean, a growing percentage. I mean, we went kind of through a transition as a business where with Google marketing, 100% of the the leads were converting through a call center.
Right.
I mean, a very capable call center that we have a partnership with, ProNexis, and still, the majority of the leads are still converting through the call center. I mean, our customers want to pick up the phone, they want to get a phone call, and so that's how they're converting. Right now, it's about 40%. In many locations, 35 to 40%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Of our Google leads are actually converting directly, on the website. So they're actually bypassing the call center altogether. They're getting to the website. This is an important part of the technology piece within our business. The better we are with technology, the more options we can give the customer to schedule, which has really been our mentality. I mean, our goal is, convert the lead, get that opportunity, but then the missing piece that a lot of home improvement companies, do miss out on is, you spend a lot of money to get that lead. Can you convert that lead into an appointment? So our mentality has been, how many options, how many ways can we give the customer to convert into an appointment? So our call center in partnership with ProNexis obviously is a huge part of that and will always be a big part of that. But the technology piece of being able to have an online calendar that syncs directly with their availability so a customer can bypass the call center has been super important to us. And I mean, you're exactly right. A lead equals an appointment in that formula. And so we bat 1,000% on something like that.
So I just want to restate a couple of things here. I think they're really important points, right? Which I just heard you say, which was, first of all, if you're going to get into social media advertising, you got to think differently around what that lead looks like because you are interrupting their social experience with an advertisement. It's targeted. It's hitting a demographic and a group and a geography you want. And it's working because you've got, some cases, 20% of your lead flow is coming now from social, right? But they should be expecting almost a quarter of those leads to turn into appointments versus if you were thinking about Google advertising, you may be at 60, 70, 80%. And if you've got options like instant booking, a great portion of your customers are coming from Google, clearly. But the other thing you mentioned is that by doing the social advertising, it had a direct impact on the volume that came from your Google advertising. And so those, it's difficult to give you the exact attribution to where that lead came from. Sometimes they're connected from a Facebook lead to a Google lead. So maybe just talk a little bit about how you are tracking this stuff. Like, how do you make sure you're getting a handle on how stuff comes to you and how it gets to you and, what medium they're coming to your brand through?
Yeah. We track every channel as meticulously as we can, right? We want to see and identify return on investment. But the balance to that is you have to be really careful to not judge a channel, exclusively on the data. I know that's a little bit counterintuitive to how we're taught to think, but you're exactly right. With social media, we actually see, if we're just looking at social media alone, a lot higher marketing cost as a percentage with social media. It can easily be, 25, 30% marketing cost, which is a lot higher than what we're used to with other channels. But when we run a social media campaign, we see an immediate impact on our Google marketing. We see more leads there. We see a drop in marketing costs, on that other channel. So, in addition to just being prepared for a lower conversion ratio, be prepared for, social media on its own to have a higher marketing cost, but for it to benefit, your Google marketing campaigns. And, so having a very, holistic approach to marketing, always looking at each channel individually, but also looking at the entire marketing mix and seeing how that's translating through, because it's really easy to give up on social media, if you're not looking at the, at the impact through those other channels.
So you kind of hinted at something here I think that's valuable as well, in that you mentioned that you got into social media really about almost 2 years ago, just around COVID, just before COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I know you guys use a lot of video to kind of market the services at Bass Solutions. For someone who's just getting into the game, they may be in the home services industry for some time. They've used Google for years, and now they're looking at trying to find a new way to bring in business. How would you recommend they go about learning more about using social media marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the challenge with marketing right now is, the truth is it's gotten a lot more complicated. It's a lot more difficult. I mean, as you're looking at all the various channels, especially within digital marketing, it's not easy, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the most important decisions that we made is to, have great marketing agencies, that we work with. So really my recommendation is make sure you have someone that knows what they're doing with social media. Yeah. I can't be an expert on all of the little nuances of running, an effective social media campaign, sure, yeah, right? And so we're very fortunate in our case that the marketing agency ProNexis that we were already working with Google already had everything in place and the experience to pivot into social media. So really, as our company was ready, they were there waiting for our business basically. And so, don't try to figure out everything on your own if there's an expert there or a marketing agency that you can contract with, because you don't want to have that lost time. You can spend 2 years spinning your wheels trying to figure out how to do this on your own, when there can be experts that can jump you ahead.
Well, I want to just hit on this point for a little longer because I think this is really important to make. Brandon, you did an undergrad in business, so that's 4 years of university. You did a master's, which is where we met, yep, an MBA. So another 2 years after that, you've worked in the industry for years in franchising businesses, marketing businesses for years. You've been in marketing and had that responsibility for years, but yet you still outsourced social media marketing to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I'm nodding along with you saying that, even with all my experience in marketing, you need to bring in experts that know that very particular niche to that perfection, because the cost and in terms of the time and the mistakes you can make in trying to learn it yourself just isn't worth it in your business.
That's right.
Which kind of leads to the next question, right? Which is, as you're trying to grow a business, we're all about, especially in the franchising world and home services, seeing month over month growth, seeing franchisees grow the revenue because it helps us sell franchises and we have successful franchisees. How do you kind of manage that with your franchisees and home services in their businesses? How do you help them grow month over month every year?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, it's important. I'll state some obvious things here, but to be really consistent with the marketing spend. And so we, especially with a new franchise owner that comes on board, we try to, spend a lot of time on education, mm-hmm, and laying out a marketing plan, even if it's a very high level marketing plan, so they have a vision for it. And then in what we do is to really help franchise owners understand these metrics as much as possible, right? Because a franchise owner really, they want to generate revenue, but really what they want is to be profitable. I mean, that's really what they want. And so our responsibility is to help them to understand the data as best as possible. So, going back to what we talked about before with social media, is to really try to understand that interplay between social media and Google, and, making sure if they, decide to make a change to a budget, increase or decrease a budget amount, that really, translates to the bottom line, mm-hmm, for them. Because it's easy when you're out in the trenches, right? Like you're running your business day to day, to maybe not, have your finger on the pulse of every last little, bit of marketing. So, coaching. A huge part of it. We hold conference calls. We have individual coaching with franchisees. We hear what they say, try to really understand what they're going through and seeing in their numbers, but also to share the numbers that we see on our side. And fortunately with the call center and the fact that we have all of our scheduling that gets funneled through the call center, it allows us to capture the data. Yeah. And so from where I'm sitting, that's super, super important that I can look at real time. I mean, I can pull up my information right now, on my phone, at my desktop, and I can say exactly how many leads came in the door today, how many of those converted into an appointment, what are the marketing channels. But the only way to do that is to, run all of those customers basically through the call center. Yep. So that gives us coaching tools. Now we have the same information and data, that a franchisee is working from. And so, helping them to stay committed to the marketing, adding channels, as we see an opportunity with channels. And, as we've kind of talked about the rollout of social media, it wasn't immediate across all locations. We had a few early adopters and a few that, came in later. But as we got data, from location A, we could share that information with location B and give them now an opportunity, another marketing channel to grow their business. So we do a lot of, cross-pollination, but it's really made possible by, the fact that the data is getting captured through a central call center. Without that, the data is too fragmented for us. Yeah,
information is power. And one thing I heard you say as well is you're using that information to help show a home service business where they need to spend their money, and also to validate the bets you're making in the marketplace, right? Like you've made a bet on social as a means to grow the revenue and the lead flow for your franchisees, and then you're using the data to back that up.
That's right.
And you're pulling across other franchisees who maybe didn't participate at first, a little more reluctant, but the data showed that it was a good investment, right?
That's right.
And I think the other thing I heard you say was being consistent, which I just want to kind of echo that again. It's so easy for a business to maybe pass judgment on a new marketing channel very quickly. They've thrown down $10,000 in that first month, and they want to see $100,000 in business off it on month 2. And the reality is, it just doesn't work like that. Things have to ramp up, and you need to be consistently investing month over month to grow month over month. That's how it works, right? There's a direct correlation to your marketing spend and your growth in your business. And maybe it'd be worth even talking about right now. Some of the bets that were made at Bath Solutions when COVID hit, because in March it was a little iffy for a lot of people. And we saw it at ProNexis. We service a lot of big brands and home services, and we saw a huge drop in lead flow. And some businesses reacted get defensive and stop spending and just kind of waited to see what's going to happen. And other businesses made some big bets, like Bath Solutions, and got aggressive and marketed. And how did that play out for you guys?
Yeah, it was an interesting time, like any business, right? When COVID hit, we slowed down for about 30 days, right? There was kind of that moment in time, mid-March to, mid-April, where I think everyone stood still for about 30 days and, was wondering what was going to occur. And we're no different, right? We definitely slowed down for about 30 days, but we were very well positioned already to take advantage of the market. What I mean by that is we were not dependent on home shows. We weren't dependent on mall displays. Those were things that, our operations, could do and to some extent were doing, but we had already made the bet, which was digital. The bet was already made, which was, this is where we have a competitive advantage. This is where we can win is in digital marketing. And so, once, and our business, by the way, was red hot when COVID hit. We were, breaking records, lead volume, appointment volume, and then, March 15th-ish hit.
Yeah.
But, once we got outside of that 30 days, it picked right up. It was amazing. We were in a spot where we could have as much or as little contact with a homeowner as they wanted, right? We were not dependent on, on home shows and things like that. Our scheduling was done over the phone. Our scheduling was done through online booking. Our marketing was done digitally. And so, once the customers were ready to get back online, we were already there. But to answer your question, the bet was made, which was digital. We'd already made that bet, and that allowed us to be flexible. And then really the next bet that we made was, it's time to focus on social media.
Yeah.
But at a high level, we were prepared. Fortunately, the marketing agencies and relationships that we had with ProNexis were already in place. We didn't have to scramble, too much to try to figure out what the next step was. It was more, okay, let's adjust our budgets, let's turn on the channel, and let's get back to work here. And 2020 ended up being a spectacular year. In many ways better than we could have imagined. So, in spite of having a few days or a few weeks of slowing down, we picked right up, and many or most even of our locations had their best year in 2020.
Just to give people a sense of kind of how well 2020 went in comparison to 2019, what kind of growth rate did you experience system-wide in 2020 when comparing to 2019?
Yeah, and I'll even talk even recently here in 2021.
Okay.
I mean, from a marketing side, one of the most important things that we look at are just, how many appointments are we putting on the calendar? What does this look like? Sitting here in marketing, that's really my responsibility is, are the locations generating, not just more revenue, but are they actually seeing more leads and appointments? And we're approximately been double the appointment volume that we were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So depending on the month, we're talking, 80%, 90%, 100% increases in appointment volume, and of course that, translated to to sales volume as well.
Okay, Brian, let's talk a little bit about, building home service businesses, something we've been doing for the last 17 years. We've done it in painting, we've done it in lighting, we've done it in bathrooms, real estate. How do you create the most value in a home service business?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all is make sure the value isn't tied up in you as the business owner, right? I mean, it's got to be in systems, in technology, in resources, in vendor relationships, in, marketing systems. I mean, that's ultimately how you create value, especially if the goal is eventually for you to exit the business, eventually for you to be able to, to sell the business and to, and to have a great exit from the business that you've built. A buyer wants to know that you have those other things in place. The buyer wants to make sure that the value isn't walking out the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's just critical that, so as the business starts, I mean, as you're starting, a lot of the value may be tied up in you, right? As you're more involved, but really the goal is to, put teams around, put people around yourself and have, salespeople, technicians, installers, show a track record of being able to keep, those people in the business. And, I think more and more in this environment to show that you have marketing systems. I mean, I think, you have to show that you can generate a lead, generate an appointment and, get people, interested in your brand ultimately. Because that's how you create value. That's how you scale. You scale through those systems. And then naturally, I mean, there's the upside to that is you're needed less and less in the business. You can work yourself out of the business a little bit and, instead of working 50, 60 hours a week, you work 10, 15, 20 hours a week. But
I couldn't agree more, Brandon. I don't think anyone wants to buy a home services business where they have to work 60 hours a weekend. You want to build something that is transferable ultimately, and that comes from creating systems. So on that note, let's talk about technology for a little bit. Tell us about what you use for technology to build BaaS solutions. Yeah,
I mean, technology really is laced, ultimately through everything we do, from the way that we create a lead to the way that we, through our partners, call center partnership that we have, the way we book an appointment, to the way that we estimate, all the way through. So, obviously on the marketing side with Google, technology is laced through that. Google gives us a lot of information, right? I mean, it tells us, what's happening on the website, and it tells us a lot of that front end information. But the weakness to Google is that it doesn't tell us ultimately what happens with that customer. So once the customer becomes a lead, Google doesn't really tell us much about, does that lead convert into an appointment? Does that appointment convert into a sale? So in other words, the data is really valuable for our, online marketing experts, not me, but the folks running, our social media and Google marketing. But our software that we use, completes that picture, gives us the rest of the story so that we can see, every customer, not just every marketing channel, but literally every customer, what happens, to that customer. And it's with the technology and call center to be able to track that. So we're able to, really follow this customer through, when they became a lead, how many attempts did it take to, create an appointment, what happens once they're an appointment, how long did it take to sell the work, obviously the dollar amount and all those sorts of things. And, technology doesn't allow us to, or without technology, we're not able to track that type of information. So paramount, there's almost not an area of our business that doesn't have a technology, attached to it all the way through, the sales process. And we're at a customer's home, maybe in the old days, we'd walk in with a 50-pound suitcase of information, right? And that can be intimidating for a customer because they feel like we're moving in, they don't like that feeling, can put them defensive, right out of the gates. But, with our salespeople now, traveling with an iPad, people are used to buying cars, online. So selling a bathroom remodel is relatively easy through just digital assets, but it also makes it a much more comfortable process with the homeowner, rather than, putting that 50-pound bag on their kitchen table. We just have that iPad. We can do a really nice presentation, answer all of their questions, and do it in a way that they don't feel, intimidated, and that we can actually give them more information, through the presentation software that we have.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Some final thoughts that I've had on just this interview is just a reminder of when you're building a home service business, thinking through every element of the business, right? From the very beginning and the top of the lead funnel all the way to closing, and then tracking it all the way through, and really building a business that one day can be transferred to someone else, not a business that has to be worked at 60 hours a week and it requires your involvement day to day, but build a business that lets you enjoy your life and provide you that kind of lifestyle you want. So that's a great reminder in this conversation. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo everything that you mentioned. I mean, create a great business, build systems around you. Don't try to do everything. I mean, the way to scale, in home improvement is to not do everything. Have the right partners, have the right vendor, have the right marketing partners. The marketing is getting a lot more complicated, and companies or individuals that have the right partners are going to have a huge competitive advantage. I mean, the days are long since past of being able to do everything and run and have a big successful company just on yellow page advertising. So find the right partners. Get the right, build the right team, and run the business and make yourself, ironically, make yourself expendable.
There you go.
Within the business.
I love it. Great. Thank you again, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for watching this episode of the Business Builder series. I'd like to extend a personal invitation to you to attend our free workshop on the sales funnel mastery. I've been using these techniques to grow 5-star painting, 5-star bath solutions into an international brand. And I want to see your business grow. Register below. Hope to see you there.